We've talked about you've talked about broadband internet consistently, and our Congressman August Pfluger was in town yesterday, and we had an extended interview, and he mentioned broadband internet as well. We're going to see what he had to say right now, and we'll be right back.
Where's that money being spent? Is it actually working to go that last mile? You'll hear that term, the last mile, to connect our rural communities to the broadband and the needs. Because whether you're a farmer, a rancher, or just living in a rural area, or have children who are going to school, I view this maybe a little bit differently than some. Look at what China has done in the cyber domain. They have made a lot of gains, and all of their country is now achieving access to this high-speed broadband and the ability, to participate in this. So this is a national security issue.
We need to be able to participate
Yes.
and compete globally with China.
That's right.
And there it is. August Pfluger just said that broadband internet access in rural parts of Texas and across the United States to compete with China and other countries is a national security issue. So there's your issue, Joe.
Well, you saw during COVID the problem we have with broadband internet. When the school district shut down and they decided they're going to do remote learning, they parked 27 buses all over San Angelo that was broadcasting Wi-Fi just so kids who were poor or didn't have the means to have broadband internet, or maybe their parents just had cell phones, they didn't have hotspots or what have you, just so they could access their classwork. If we have to park 27 buses all over town just to provide broadband internet, that's crazy. And it wasn't really good broadband internet. The state defined, or the FCC is defined as like 25 megabytes down, 3 megabytes up. I want to say we need more than 100 down and more than 10 up. And realize that on broadband internet, it's more than just watching Netflix, although Netflix is probably about 40% of all internet traffic. The streaming is, maybe it's 50% now because Yellowstone is very popular, right?
Yeah.
Yellowstone in 1883, which if you haven't seen 1883, worth it. Anyway, so, and the other thing about internet is when you're on the end of a street and you have a whole bunch of kids there that have those game boxes, those games are like sometimes 100 gigs large. And so when those games sends an update, and all of a sudden you have like 5 houses of the 7 houses on a cul-de-sac downloading all that, using up all that bandwidth. That's what slows you down. And that's one of the things that Suddenlink was coming up against when everyone complained about Suddenlink speeds and things like that. It's because part of the trunks were having those large demands put on them by primarily, I think, gamers, and also the streaming. And that messed up everyone else around them. So one of the things that you can do with this money for broadband internet, and there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about as far as what kind of strings come attached to it. But one of the things you need to think about if you're a voter is think about broadband internet today like we did the interstate highway system back in the 1950s. Okay. So I'm going to use Houston as an example because I grew up in Houston and I kind of understand how the highways were. But in 1949 Houston, you had I-59, or not I-50, you had US 59, US 75, I-10 coming in. So those are you think of those as your broadband internet big data pipes that were coming in. Okay. As more and more people started using those highways, as you get close, and downtown Houston became very crowded because they were all terminating right there in downtown Houston. That's kind of where we are right now in San Angelo. We have lots of, I think we have 7 backbones coming into town, but they're all pretty much terminating downtown.
Okay.
And I'm being very simple about it. So
yeah.
Someone that knows the map will say, no, that's not right. Something terminates on, Ben Ficklin Road or whatever,
Right.
But what Houston did with this highway system was the first thing they did was they upgraded all those highways to interstates. So they added more lanes. All right. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're adding more fiber. We're adding more lanes, but we're still going downtown. And it's still getting clogged up. And as we add more lanes, that kind of reduces the congestion somewhat. Okay, applications, things that you do on the internet, like this gaming stuff.
Right.
People working from home, Zooming. That's a lot of upload. Upload is very stressful on internet infrastructure. So the next step we need to do the next step that, like if you think about the Houston highway system, they built Loop 610. Okay. So now instead of terminating your trip or starting your trip downtown, you could hop on Loop 610 and then intercept I-45 to go north to Dallas, for example. So that took a lot of load off of downtown. And then Loop 610 got crowded, so they built Beltway 8.
Right.
Right. And then that got crowded. Then they went out to Mason Road or Peak Road out there to the west, and they built another loop around Houston. You can look at the same thing with San Antonio, where you had Loop 410, 1604. You get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that San Angelo could look at, and this is just an idea, is somehow building a mid-range fiber loop around, outside the outskirts of the city, that people could actually, you can now tap into the high-speed internet, not by going downtown, but by going to that fiber loop. And then, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always thinking like, well, how do you make that sustainable? Maybe the county could charge money access to get on it. I don't know, make it a toll road. But there's all, the problem that I've seen over the years, and I've been in the internet business since 1995.
Okay.
I've seen government grants come in. They dump a bunch of money on it. It solves a problem for 2 years, and then it's like we forget about it, and it never did anything that's worthwhile or sustainable over a long period of time. I don't want that to happen to San Angelo, because this is a lot of money that we can use to actually build something that's good for all the citizens. And also, one more thing this will do, this will help bring faster internet to some of the poorer part of towns. When you get out in rural areas, when you're on the north side of San Angelo, these are the next Albert Einstein could be living on 45th Street with crappy internet right now.
Yeah.
We can maybe get, we have infrastructure available that his parents can cheaply get internet access to that home, and he might be able to learn something really cool. The other thing that this is going to do is we have a lot of people who work from home now. We have Google executives who live in San Angelo, work remotely, have Zoom meetings and all that kind of stuff right here from San Angelo, and they're making six-figure incomes. Mm-hmm. So that's, this is an attractive community for someone like that, a young professional who has a job with a Fortune 100 company, who can move here and work remotely if we had really good, sustainable internet. Lastly, I'll say this: Christoval, Dove Creek, Wall, Grape Creek, Water Valley, those areas, they're never going to be serviced correctly because the houses are too far apart, and it doesn't make business sense to connect them together with the internet. So what they're going to say is, well, we'll just throw up a wireless tower and get everyone on wireless internet. Wireless internet is good. I think it's a good stopgap, but I don't think it's the final thing. And the reason is, it's just like here. I upgraded this business here to fiber. Mm-hmm. Because I know the most important thing we do at San Angelo Live is we upload stuff. This live stream is uploading. This is a very stressful thing compared to downloading, okay? I want it to have clear, wide upload paths so we can live stream from this studio. And we're on Conterra, by the way, if anyone want to ask. This studio is on Conterra Networks. And that's why I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't set the table that eventually, within the next 10 years, 20 years, we can run a fiber link to every termination zone in the county, just like we do electricity.
Right.
Because broadband internet is as important today as electricity was back in 1930.